So I'll call the meeting to order. This is the information meeting before the town meeting scheduled for March 2nd. I'd ask everyone to stay muted. If you want to speak, either raise your hand or use the chat function. There is on some Zooms, there's this under a reaction you can clap. That also would show up. If there's no objection, I'm going to change the order a little bit. We'll start with the school and a budget presentation, followed by the introduction of the candidates for the school, and then do the town after that. If there's no objection, we'll go ahead and start with Mark Tucker and the presentation for the school.
Mark should be okay to share.
Is Mark muted?
He is telling he's muted.
Yeah, sorry.
Mark, you're muted. Yeah.
I'm not now. I was somehow ended up in the middle of the presentation. I apologize. So just going to go through this fairly quickly, but if you have questions as I'm going through, I think it's a short enough presentation that you could save the question and we can go back to slide, because I set these up to kind of be a progression, and I may be answering your question on the very next slide. So, but if you're really confused or really lost, then tell me to stop and I'll go into more detail. Okay. So this going into the FY22 budget cycle, we were really concerned when we started looking at the budgets because there's still a lot of unknowns with the overall expenses and additional charges for COVID that are going to affect the current year. But we had to do a budget for FY22, and we had to do it knowing that we had some pressures just coming out of the gate. When we sat down to do budgeting, we start off with the existing structure. We factor in pay raises and benefit increases and things like that, and then we look to see where we're standing. In the first view on the budget, we were looking at a fairly significant tax increase of more than 10 cents, something in the 12 to 15 cent range. And I apologize, I don't remember it because we resolved it, and I've got 5 other budgets that I'm working with, but it was in that 10 to 15 cent range. And we knew that that was not going to be an acceptable tax increase to the community. So we made some overall changes to the way the school's organized for next year. The school had been carrying 3 pre-kindergarten classrooms. We don't have the student count to justify that, and so we're reducing 1 pre-kindergarten classroom, and that affects a teaching position and a paraprofessional position. We also have an extra elementary person employed right now. We don't have a classroom for that extra person or a class for that extra person next year, so we're cutting 1 elementary teaching position. We don't know yet who directly is going to be affected by that. It will depend on, if we have some retirements or departures, it may not end up with somebody who wants to continue teaching at Danville actually not having a job next year, because we can move staff around if they have the appropriate endorsement. So we're kind of waiting on that. We're not going to know for another month or 2 for sure who might be affected or impacted by this. We also had to factor into this teacher salary increases, and we had to estimate that because we've not settled our agreement with the Vermont NEA Association that represents teachers at Danville. We did settle the support staff agreement, and that was built in. Their settled raises built in. We saw a 9% increase in health insurance costs and no increase in dental insurance costs. So those inflationary costs were largely offset by the reduction of the staff that I started out with. Then in terms of revenue, Danville High School benefits from the fact that it attracts students from other area towns that have high school choice. So we tracked students from Lindenville and Waterford and Barnett and Walden and Concord and towns like that who pay to tuition their students into a high school because they don't operate their own high schools. And we've been carrying in the budget 44 students for high school tuition every year, and we left it at that number. There was a reduction in overall revenue coming into this budget. There was $290,000 less than anticipated revenue. There was some carry forward from the previous year that we don't have. There was a loss of $81,000 from a Medicaid grant because we depleted the surplus in the Medicaid fund. So there was some pressure on the revenue side as well. Benefiting the budget in regular education, last year we had moved federal grant-funded intervention positions onto the local budget because Danville, for a period of time, was believed not to qualify for Title I funding. That was restored, and so we moved those back under grant funding. So it's essentially the federal grants are paying for those positions. Overall, we saw an overall reduction of $233,292 in expenditures despite salary and insurance increases. And there is, but then it's kind of a yin and a yang on this slide. Then we had to factor in some anticipated increases in special education based on student numbers and needs. Other things, we spend some money for contracted psychological services. That's level funded. We decreased the library, media, and technology budgets based on assessments. A slight increase in the assessment for the superintendent's office of $4,800. That's increased share or salary increases for the supervisory union administrators. And then some slight increase in the principal's office. We moved partway into the school year, we moved to from a assistant principal model to two principals. Dave Schilling's a secondary principal, 7 through 12. Sarah Welch is the elementary principal, pre-K to 6. And so we made some adjustments in salary. Actually took back some money, or Dave gave back some money that he was expecting getting the salary increase because the scope of his job changed, and Sarah got an increase to reflect the scope of what she's doing. So, and then there's some other inflationary factors. The principal's office carries some weird things like the copier rental and all the paper supply for the entire building and things like that. So it's not a big increase, but part of it's just a piece of it is salary. In terms of, I don't know why this is jumping around on me. I don't like this. The education spending, that's the foundation of the budget, overall was reduced by $50,493. And anytime you reduce budgeted expenditures, that puts a downward pressure on the tax rate. So that's a good thing. The equalized pupil count went up by about 2 pupils. That also lowers the tax rate slightly. The more equalized pupils you have in a school, the better, because you're dividing your expenditures across more students. Danville's common level of appraisal went down this year from 100.62% to 98.65%. That's not a good thing when the common level of appraisal goes down. When the CLA goes down, that puts upward pressure on the tax rate. And then there's some things with the yield rate. So the yield rate is initially set by the tax commissioner on December 1st, and it's a projection or an estimate of what $1 in property tax will raise in terms of education spending. It was initially set at $10,763, which was a drop from the current year. But then when the legislature came back into session, they found all of a sudden that they had a whole lot more money coming into the ed fund than they had anticipated because of some pretty significant sales tax collections. And so they have been moving a bill through to actually raise the yield rate from what the tax commissioner recommended up to $11,385. So what happened was we thought we were going to have a lower yield rate and that would have raised taxes. Now we think we're going to have an even higher yield rate than we had last year, and that's going to push taxes back down. So let me show you what that looks like. So when the board approved the budget on January 5th, I believe it was, at its regular board meeting, this is what we were looking at for a tax impact based on the numbers we had at the time. So, as I said, we brought education spending down by a little over $50,000, and that was going to cut a penny and a half from your tax rate. The equalized pupil count then had gone up by about one student, and that was going to cut 0.4 of a cent. The CLA going down was going to add 3.2 cents. The yield rate going down was going to add 3.5 cents. So at the end of all of this, based on the budget when the board first approved it, we were looking at a 4.8 cent education tax increase for the town of Danville. So fast forward about a month, this is what it looks like right now. We picked up another equalized pupil. That helped a little bit. The CLA stayed the same. The yield rate had a significant impact on the tax rate for Danville by going, this is 10,998 was last year's yield rate. By going above that, that actually carved 5.6 cents off the tax rate. So the net of all this is, and this is based on this is a projected rate subject to the legislature passing the bill. It's moving through the legislature. Right now, what we're looking at is instead of a 4.8 cent tax increase, we're looking at a 4.7 cent tax decrease. Okay, so that's a pretty big swing. This is what the Danville education tax rate picture has looked like over the last 8 or 9 years. You're $1.61 last year. We're looking at $1.56 projected for FY22. So you see, it's gone up. It's not really a straight line here, and it's always nice when we see it come down a little bit. And then we'll have to see what happens next year. I don't expect the yield rate to stay up as high as it is this year. I think it's an anomaly. The legislature is trying to have mercy on all the school districts by setting a really high yield rate. It'll probably come back down a little bit, but right now we're looking at a tax rate. We're expecting that the taxpayers, myself included, will see an education property tax decrease. Does anybody have any questions?
Tom, I don't know if you can see or not, but Kathy Hoffer has her hand raised.
Oh, there she is. Kathy.
Hi, I'm just, you mentioned that the psychological services, you expect them to go down. And I was just thinking about, do kids who have been affected by COVID, or if you're seeing kids that need some mental health services, do you expect more because of this past year?
That's a little hard to judge right now. I mean, we were really concerned about kids before what state the kids were going to be in when they came back to school in the second week of September. We spent a lot of time at the beginning, the first 2 or 3 weeks of school, just focused on social emotional learning and kind of getting kids reoriented towards being back in school and being with their peers and working together and all that. Certainly, Dave Schilling's on if he wants to comment about what he's seeing overall. The specific numbers that go into that line for psychological services are where we're going out and contracting for extra services that are beyond what the school's already staffed to handle. And so we're not, and that's episodic and based on, kind of fluctuations in high needs kids coming in and out of the school. And so that's why that particular line item is going down a little bit. But I don't know, Dave Schilling, if you want to say anything about, mental health situation at the school.
Yeah, mental health in the region is rough. It's trying to find counselors for kids has been a tough thing. And one of the things that's been great this year is we have Melendy Willis, who's with us 3 days a week as an in-school clinician. So some of the cost adjustment you see there is that last year we had the opportunity to pick up 3 days of Melendy's time out of budget. And so we were a little over last year because Melendy joined us. This year we've budgeted for her. So that's where a little bit of that fluctuation comes. I certainly don't see us as cutting counseling services. We need everything we can get, but it's tough to find that in the region right now.
Any other questions for Mark? Hearing none, we'll go on to the candidates. I guess I'd ask them to introduce themselves. Well, first of all, I'm Tom Zabrowski. I'm moderator for a number of years, retired physician. I've lived in Danville for about 42 years. Dave Toll is running for the 3-year term of school director.
Sorry.
He's muted though.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm Dave Toll. I'm running for the 3-year term. I've been on the school board 10 years, and I really, the reason I wanted to get on was for safety. There were a lot of things that needed attention, and I think the school board over the years has done a really good job. I feel if kids don't feel safe that they can't learn, and the school board that we have right now has done a lot of work, including the administrators and the superintendent, to get a really nice place for kids to learn. We just need I've done, I graduated from Danville High School in '84. I have 4 kids that graduated from Danville. And, I just would love to continue to be on the school board. It's very near and dear to my heart, and I hope you'll vote for me. That's it.
Audrey, it looks like I got myself out.
Oh boy. Let me steal your mouse for a second. There you go.
Thank you.
You're back.
All right. Okay. Then there are 2 positions for 1 year on the school board. Robert Edgar, do you want to introduce yourself, please?
Tell him.
Robert Edgar. Oh,
There he is.
there you go.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. This is my 4th year on the board. I've been elected each year and served as the clerk of the board each year. My wife, Stacy, and I moved to Danville in 1998, 23 years ago. For the first 5 years, I commuted to Massachusetts, she to Austin, Texas, but home was here. Subsequently, our 2 sons were lofted into this village and its school. Thomas is now in the high school, Patrick in the middle school. I'm a retired professional biologist. As a scientist and professor, I am well trained as a skeptic. That does not mean I have no beliefs, only that I'm slow in acquiring them. Danville is a public school. Its mission necessarily includes the production of civic competence in its kids, the competence which underwrites the health and vibrancy of our families, our town, and importantly, our democracy. I see my primary job as to support and oversee progress in that mission. I have worked profitably on this board with Bruce, David, Tim, Clayton, and Ginny Lavley, each a model of fairness and civic competence. As for the administrators, David, Sarah, and Mark, I've come to know each of them as refreshingly respectful of our roles in this system. Each is an exceptional leader. Each is professionally well beyond competent. This town is blessed. I ask for your vote for another one-year term on the board. Thank you.
Okay. And the other candidate for a one-year term is Bruce Melendy.
Yeah, thank you, Tom. Yeah, hi, everyone. I think I pretty much know everybody that's on tonight. I'm Bruce Melendy. I grew up in central Vermont. My career brought me here in 1991. At that time, my oldest daughter was in second grade. My other daughter was in kindergarten, and my son had not started school yet. All three kids went on to graduate from Danville. I served on the Danville School Board from 1999 to 2004. I came back on in 2016. I was concerned about Act 46 with the administration and the school board members that Robert has mentioned. I think we did a good job coming out about as good as we could for Danville with Act 46. I now have 7 grandchildren. 5 of them reside in Danville, and 4 of them are attending Danville School. 3 of them actually not right now because of COVID, but one of them is still, and the other one is only 7 months old, so it'll be a little while before she comes to Danville. And my bio is on the website, so I'm not going to get into a lot of detail. This will be, again, as I said, in 2016, I ran again. So this will be my, if elected, my 6th year of serving during this current term. I was elected chair in 2017 and have remained as the chair since then. And again, I would appreciate your support and look forward to serving Danville for another year.
Thank you. The other office is the school treasurer. Is Phyllis here?
She's not on.
So her bio's on the website. Is there any other discussion about the school meeting or budget or the candidates? Hearing none, I'd move on to the town. Yes?
Tom, Ken has his hand up.
You might introduce Clayton Cargill and Tim Sanborn, the other members of the school board.
Thank you, Ken. I was going to do that.
I'll do it.
Thank you.
I don't want to follow those speeches. Don't make me. My name's Clayton, and I don't have to stump, so I'm not going to stump. Hello.
Hello.
And I'm Tim Sanborn. I'm the other member on the board.
Yeah. Good. Okay, we'll move on to the town meeting. I guess why don't we start with the candidates? I know it's backwards, but it sort of makes sense to me. Once again, I'm running for moderator. Wendy's running for town clerk. Wendy, you want to speak?
Hi, I'm Wendy Summers. I've been with the town going on 13 years, and I'm running for my 4th term for a 3-year term for town clerk and treasurer.
Okay, and for select persons, there's one position. It's a 3-year term, and that's Eric Bach.
Hello, everyone. I'm Eric Bach. I've been with the select board now. I'm just finishing up my 4th year, and I hope to get your vote for the next 3.
Okay, and then there are 2 one-year positions, and there are 3 candidates. We'll just go in order. Kristen Franson.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kristen Franson. I grew up in Danville. My main name is Wyand. I think that's probably how most of you might know me. I grew up in Danville, moved away for some years and come back to raise my kids, who are both students at Danville right now. As my second year on the board, I'm finishing up, looking to start my third. And I work for a healthcare facility in St. Johnsbury. As a manager, I have lots of HR responsibilities and budget work, which I think helps benefit the town, depending on who you ask. But I hope to get your vote again this year.
Thank you. Peter Griffin.
Sure. Thank you. My name is Peter Griffin. I'm running for one of the one-year terms on the select board. I would be new to the select board. One of the one-year seats is an open seat. It had been held by Henry Pearl, and then Henry got elected to the legislature this last fall and is not running for re-election. So one of the one-year seats is an open seat. After Henry decided not to run, a couple different people approached me about running for select board, and I thought it was a good idea. I have some experiences that could help inform my work on the select board. My family and I, we ran a vegetable farm in Peacham for a number of years. So I've interacted with local government as a small business owner. We actually, there were zoning issues. We had a appeal about how to tax our greenhouses at one point. So I sort of have that perspective of dealing with local government. But then I also worked for 10 years for the Vermont General Assembly, for the legislature. And in that capacity, I did a lot of work with helping get bills through the system that dealt with local and state government revenue and budgeting issues. So I have kind of that perspective too, and I have a sense of how local governments work a little bit. But mostly I decided to run because I think I would enjoy it. I don't have a particular issue I'm running on, or a particular a point of view, but for me, it'd be a way to be of service to my neighbors and to this town where we've been able to raise our kids. And they're getting a little older, and I find my time opening up a little more, and I have some time and energy. They're lovely kids, but they would rather see their friends now than hang out with me. So all of a sudden, I'm trying to figure out some things, ways that I can be of use. So I appreciate your support and your vote, and thank you for the opportunity of, in this crazy time, putting on these informational meetings in this format, and and making this available.
Thank you. And Craig Morris.
Hi, I'm Craig Morris. Went to school in Danville, moved away, came back, lived off the grid, moved into the village because, well, I wanted power. And I've spent the last couple of years going to a lot of the select board meetings just to learn more about what goes on in the town and how the select board runs and what kind of decisions they make. And a lot of people I talk with, we discuss town issues, and I feel I can help out with keeping the town people informed on what's going on at the select board meetings that I talk with and work with. And so people know what's going on and then just don't assume no one's doing anything. So I just figured I'd run, seems I'm there anyways. And I'd appreciate anybody's vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Next position is a lister for a 3-year term. Is John Blackmore on? No. Okay. The bio's on the web. The bio's on the web. And delinquent tax collector Ed Lito, he's also not on, so you have to get the information from the web. Going on to the town warning, are there any questions about the articles? The special appropriations are on page 56, and none of them have changed. The town budget is on page 56. The highway budget is on page 60. And I guess I open the floor for questions if people had questions about that. Or any of the articles. Eric?
So I can just talk to the budget for just a couple of quick things about the budget, I suppose. That we did level fund this year for the budget. COVID had definitely made some challenges last year. We're still going to have to tackle some of the things we didn't get done. So we rolled money back in to finish those. With both the municipal and highway budget, we had to take into account a small percentage of increase for salaries. And a couple of other requests, we're looking at a little bit different formatting with some of the way that we support the volunteer firefighters. So we had to change a little bit of budgeting around there. See how that works for a year. If it works, it's excellent. And we're going to hopefully see some positive results. If not, well, we'll start looking in some different ways. And that's something that I think Troy would be best to describe. With the municipal budget, we did have to put some more money into the capital building fund. We are working very diligently on the recycling center, which most of you have probably been to or seen at the train station. It is not at this point meeting our needs as far as space or accessibility. So we have been working. We've been working pretty hard, and not just us, but many other committees to look for a better space, a better option for that. And we've set some money aside so that we can be looking at improvements in the current building if necessary, but in an ideal world, making some changes so that we have a different building to put in. And we've been looking at some properties and buildings already owned by the town, so that we don't have to increase the number of properties that we have. The highway budget, again, level funded, and we are putting a chunk of money into the Peacham Road this year. The Peacham Road needs to be addressed from start to finish. One of the things you'll see on the ballot is we're asking if we can take out a loan, which would allow us to use the money we budgeted for this year, take out the loan, and do the Peacham Road all in 1 year, one construction season, start to finish, and have it over with. It would be a shorter term loan we'd be able to pay back. If that is voted down, then we'll still have to address the Peacham Road. The problem will not go away. We will just have to stretch it out over multiple years, and next year we will have to put more money into the budget to finish that project. And in doing that, it just pulls our attention away from other roads in town for a little bit longer than we would like. It would be terrific if we could get everything done this season and move forward. But again, we're level funded in the budget this year, and we're going to do the best we can. There's a lot of unknowns that happened last year, and there's still a lot of unknowns coming up for 2021. But we think we've got a budget that's going to support that.
Thank you. Any other questions or discussion? Kathy Hoffer.
So I wanted to say to the selectmen, Yahoo for the Peacham Road. That is fabulous. And the other thing, my husband and I love the dog license report that has all the names of the dogs. That was really great to read. So anyway, anything? Thanks.
Ken, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to commend the highway crew and the town employees working in the town hall and so on. They aggressively undertook all the COVID activities they had to undertake. Wendy and people went out. Audrey got grants to pay for almost all of the expenses that we incurred buying PPE and other things. And I think we owe them a sincere congratulations.
Okay. Now there's another information. Oh yeah, Tim.
I'd just like to say that if anybody's got any question about the Peachum Road, just take a ride toward Peachum. And I agree with Kathy.
Yeah. Laurel, did you want to say something? Laurel?
Yes, I just one little piece of Joe's Brook Road, kind of from maybe the Bach house that's a rental now down to the next house that hasn't been done, and I'm just curious when it might get done.
Can someone speak to the Joe's Brook Road?
I'm Keith Gadapy. I'm the road foreman. I don't know if everyone can hear me or not.
I can hear you.
That is under a grant. We've applied for a grant last year. They postponed all the grants last year due to COVID. So that little piece that's left is being applied for again. The grants are due April 15th. So we're applying for state funding for that last piece of road. We probably won't know until early summer whether we'd even get the grant, but probably the construction, depending on how the Peachum Road vote goes, would be the following season.
Thank you. I guess I would ask about the Dole Hill Road. Is that town or state?
Dole Hill Road is a town road.
Are there any plans to maintain that better?
Are you speaking about the pavement?
Yes.
That's all I can say is that is one in need of repair for sure. But it's not on the schedule for this year.
Okay. Any other discussion?
I have a question. This is Diana.
Hi, Diana.
About number 30, the Article 30 in the town report about the operation of cannabis retailers. Are there specific retailers that are, is that a specific question, or is that just a general question? Curious, just curious about it.
Can someone answer that?
That's essentially a general question, whether or not the voters of the town want to allow cannabis retailers that would be licensed by the state of Vermont to open a retail business beginning, as it says, in October of 2022.
Thank you.
Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
If there's no objection, we can adjourn.
We need a second.
I don't think so. Thank you, everyone.
I'll second it, Audrey.
Okay, cool.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.